31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Joviet. Tonight is Ask Us Anything night. So we're opening the phone lines up to any kind of legal question you have. Maybe it's a medical malpractice question. Maybe you've been in a car accident. Maybe we want to talk a little bit about Medicaid expansion. Yeah, we want to talk through some of the things that are going on, but it's Ask Us Anything night, so you can ask any kind of legal question. You call in 256-536-0077. You can also text to that number now as well, so you can text your question if you're a little shy to go on the air. You can also email a question, any legal question, any day of the week. You send it to lawcall@waytv.com, and when we get to a show that's on point, we pull them out like Ask Us Anything shows. We've got Will League and William Meservey here from Timberlake, League and Brooks. Good to have you guys here.
Right.
Glad to be here.
We got the
wheels and the wheels.
That's right. Sure do. Here we're going to hopefully talk a little bit. Ask us anything. Be brave. Give us a shout if you got a legal question. We're going to talk a little bit after our video. You be the judge. We're going to talk about Medicaid expansion. Why you may not care. Why you should. What is it? How will it help our state? How will it hurt us? So, I'd like to talk about that. It's important to bridge the gap for those that aren't covered with insurance, and it's important.
So we'll talk about what's going on. We like to get you started with a video. You make the law call. Take a look at this one. So this is not your typical auto accident.
That's William's specialty.
Is that
right
William
there.
taking a nap? He's been working too hard and looks like he's snoozing on the job, right? Just that little bump and it causes all of this. So it's one thing that, thank goodness, it looks like everybody gets out okay. But if this guy snoozing on the job causes the injury to somebody else that's working there, are you talking about workers' comp recoveries, or could you even sue this guy? Because it just doesn't look like he's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
He woke up at the last, didn't he?
Yeah, he woke up at the right moment just to escape just in time.
It keeps coming, though.
There would be workers' comp available for all of the other employees. Now, workers' comp will not apply to an employee who has knowingly violated a safety rule.
Okay, and you're betting he is.
I'm betting that
he
has violated a safety rule at the forklift operation at that facility.
Okay, so if he got hurt, he might not be able to claim workers' comp then.
Well, he may not be able to, but he might.
Okay.
Right? It's going
what's the difference between horseplay and he was just sleepy and made a mistake?
Yes.
Yeah, or on drugs or whatever.
Right. So there are a series of exclusions from workers' comp, right? Horseplay is one. Unless the horseplay or argument has to do with your employment. Like, hey, that's my lawnmower that I'm using today. You're supposed to be on that one, right?
Okay.
If you are intoxicated in any form or fashion, whether that be drugs or alcohol, you're going to be excluded from workers' comp. A violation of a safety rule is, and that could be failure to put on a seatbelt for someone who drives for a living.
Oh, wow.
And so there are a series of exclusions for workers' comp. Now, we don't have all the context, right? So maybe he was just sleepy. Maybe he didn't violate a safety rule. But, I think it would be unusual for someone to fall asleep at the wheel of a forklift.
And if the other guy that you saw way back in the back, if he got seriously injured, could he sue his coworker for causing this?
If they're for the same company, there's an exclusion.
Okay.
And the exclusion would say he's limited to only workers' compensation benefits. And that's if, all your medical bills paid, 2/3 your average weekly wage. If you're off work, if you have any type of impairment rating, you can be compensated for that as well. If your co-employee causes your injury, if he's of the same employer, you will be limited to workers' comp. You will not be able to maintain an action against him or her unless they're employed by a separate employer. Co-employee, there's limits. There may be some exceptions if there's extreme or intentional conduct, but negligence is certainly off the table.
Okay. We are opening the phone lines up to all kinds of questions. It's Ask Us Anything night, and we've got callers waiting already. Gary's on the line with a question from Muscle Shoals. Hi, Gary. Thanks for calling in. What's your question tonight?
Like if I just wanted to buy an automobile, or I owned an automobile, let's say I had it on the road, and I just wanted to collect it, and I parked it in my garage, and they act like that we got to pay a fine on that or something, or keep it insured or tagged or something. And even if I turn in the tags and then I want to re-tag it one of these days, they try to charge you $200 or more for like a fine.
Let me ask you this, Gary. Let's say you drove it in 2019 and you had a garage until today, Are they trying to charge you 3 or 4 years of the tag? Because is that what they're trying to do?
Well, yeah, because well, for instance, like I've had different people tell me this. Like I put a truck in the garage. It's been there for 10 years now or more. You know, because I've had health problems. I've had my leg amputated and all this stuff. And still, back a long time ago, when my tag had lapsed and everything, they put a fine on it, like a $200 fine, and now they say for me to retag that thing, it's going to cost $800 and something to retag the truck and just.
Wow.
It doesn't sound right. Because, you know, it's because let's see, when you register your vehicle, you're getting a tag, you're getting a sticker, and part of that money goes to the roads, and you get the driver's license. That's a agreement that I'm going to abide by the rules if I'm going to use Alabama's or the federal, all the roads out there. So if you're garaging a vehicle and not using it for the roadway, I don't think you have to have that registered. If you are using it for the roadway, it's got to be registered, it's got to be insured. Oftentimes, in the cases that William and I handle, if the defendant driver does not have insurance, the Department of Revenue and the license department can suspend that driver's license for violating those rules of a vehicle that, here's the crucial part, that he or she was operating on this public roadway. And so in your case, if you're not operating that motor vehicle on the roadway, I don't think you should have to have that registered. Now, what the continuation is with regard to how many years you had it, what penalty they're going to try and make you catch up, that doesn't seem right, but we'll have to check on that and see. But again, if you're not using that vehicle on the road, I don't think the law requires you to have insurance. And B, you probably don't have to have it registered with the state and to have your tag, but it sounds like you do. So we got to look further into that, don't we, William?
Yeah.
Okay, we got a text. We told you can text into the same number that you can call into. Okay, here's somebody with a question about, I think it's a patio home, but I don't know that matters. A fence line. Fence has been up for over 25 years. The neighbor says it's over the line. What do I have to do? Do I have any legal recourse? So if you've got a fence on your property, it's been up 25 years, and it's apparently in the wrong place. What do you think?
The first thing I do is have the property surveyed.
Okay.
Right, and this is one of those questions that there's a legal answer for, and there's a non-legal answer for it, right? And it's sort of like that Robert Frost poem about the neighbors and the wall.
Yeah.
And, to the extent y'all can mutually reach an agreement with regards to the fence, that tends to be in everyone's best interest. But the first thing I would do is have a survey run just to see. You don't know if it's across the line or if it's not unless you have a professional survey done to see where the actual property lines are. Assuming that it is over the line, your neighbor may have a claim to that fence.
And even worse, let's say it's over the line. They have been open and obvious using that property for all these years. Remember, adverse possession.
Yeah.
If you're paying taxes on that land and you're open and obviously using that land, I've forgotten exactly how many years that requires. I want to say it's over 10. Maybe it's longer. Maybe it's 20.
It's over 10 in Alabama.
Is it? Okay. And so the worst case scenario is all of a sudden your land could become your neighbor's if they're paying taxes on it and they're using it in front of you, open and obvious. You'll do anything to protect your property.
Or at least that sliver of your land.
Right. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Which us lawyers, we've never actually seen that at work, but
it's one of those things you
that's
study.
what they taught us in law
study
school.
a lot.
And so that is the worst case scenario. You lose your property.
Okay, you guys have got to be in your bonnet about Medicaid expansion. Why is this coming up now? Tell us what we ought to know about this and why everybody ought to care about this in Alabama, especially.
Some of the shows that we've talked about, gun control, transgender rights, things like that, to educate and try and have an open dialogue, about these. William and I were talking about what could we talk about on LawCall this week. And one of the things is Medicaid expansion. You may not care. You may be watching, you roll your eyes, what are they even talking about? Well, let me tell you why you may want to care. So you're over 65 or older, you're on Medicare. 50% of the folks out there get it through their employment or employment through a family member. Then you got 5 to 10% that get it through private insurance. Then let's go all the way to the bottom with Medicaid. People who without assets, without income, they're covered. But there's a gap between the Medicaid recipients and people that qualify for subsidies. And so there's a gap in Alabama and, maybe over 1 million people that are uninsured.
Okay.
So those people, they go to the emergency room. They go and they're going to be charged. The state and the government, they cannot recover against those folks. They can't get their money for those bills, and those are dispersed amongst all of us. And so to expand Medicaid, the federal government would pay arguably 100% of expansion to keep some of these rural hospitals open.
Yeah.
Because we got half the counties out there that don't offer delivery services for expectant mothers. And so they got to go outside the county to get care to have a child.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a big, making that drive could mean the difference in life and death.
And we could just get that money for free, right, from the federal government.
I mean, we're talking over $1 billion. Now, I get it. The naysayers are saying, well, what if the government doesn't pay that 90% or 100% and we're on the hook for it? What do we do then? I think it's a great argument. We're one of only 10 states that have not expanded Medicaid.
That's right.
And why is that?
Well, Medicaid expansion is actually part of the Affordable Care Act that was passed under Obama.
Right.
Okay, so regardless what side of the fence you're on, there's political machinations regarding this. But the losers are the citizens of the state of Alabama who could be covered by insurance that aren't. And so for the 40 states that have expanded Medicaid and been working under Medicaid expansion for now several years, they've seen improved health outcomes, reduced financial stress for their citizens, improved employment, reduced uncompensated care costs, which you were just talking about, Will, economic benefits from all that influx of money, and reduced mortality rates, and we have some of the highest mortality rates in the entire country.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of good arguments to make for, bringing these folks who are below poverty, federal poverty guidelines, into the threshold of being able to be covered by Medicaid.
And Governor Ivey saw fit not to do it. I think she's adamantly against it. Right. And maybe we'll talk to your legislature, or just at least have a discussion about it. Let's talk to a lot of people about it. Half people don't care. Yeah. And if it doesn't affect you, a lot of times it's, well, I vote with my pocketbook. Well, if that's your mantra, then you're going to be, for the folks that aren't covered and get health care, it's dispersed to all of us through taxpayer money. And you have an option of what your taxpayer money goes to. But, we'd ask you to at least study this particular issue because it affects, the poorest, the most in need, but also comes back to those with insurance. Then we all have to share in those. And if the federal government, if Alabama's missed out on close to $1 billion, why not avail ourselves of that program?
We're going to take a break. Be right back answering more of your questions. We've got a lot of people on the line and waiting. It's Ask Us Anything night. Stay with us.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call. Your rights, your calls, live. Presented by the Tennessee Valley's award-winning personal injury and wrongful death law firm, Timberlake, League & Brooks. Featuring the knowledge and experience of attorney Michael Timberlake, attorney Will League, attorney Heath Brooks, attorney William Maservi, and hosted by broadcaster and family law attorney Sharon Doviet. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Coming back tonight, it's Ask Us Anything night, so we've opened the phone lines up and the text. You can text us now, 256-536-0077. Ask us any kind of question tonight. We've got callers waiting. We've got Rachel on the line from AREB. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for calling. We've got Will League and William Maservi from Timberlake, League & Brooks. What's your question tonight?
I bought a vehicle, and when I left the lot, several days later, I went to go get a tag for it. Well, they did not put the title application for the tag in the paperwork.
Okay.
So I called the salesman and told him about it, and he said that he would get right back with me. Well, I never heard anything from him, So finally, I went on my way to Jasper, got pulled over by the law in Albertville, got a ticket for no tag. All right, now this made my second attempt to go get a tag from there, or a title application to go get my tag. So then when I went the third attempt, the state trooper pulled me over, and I said, okay, I'll carry the car back home, and I'll wait on them. I waited on them 3 weeks, no response whatsoever. Well, then a car payment was due, so I made a car payment. and he did not add me to my insurance. For 16 days, I had no insurance, thinking I had full coverage insurance on this car. So I left the lot with no title application and no insurance.
So you have a grace period, Rachel. Let's talk about the insurance first. You have a grace period with your own insurance. You buy a car, it's going to be covered for a limited amount of time, usually 30 days. You want to check your own policy about that. Now, on the other issue about, we've had another caller about registering the vehicle. So, yes, the dealer blew it, didn't give you your paperwork, the proper paperwork to apply for that particular title application for the registration, but that does not absolve your obligation to have that car registered properly. And so I don't believe that would be an adequate defense to those tickets you've got. Now, is it a breach of contract with the dealer? Perhaps. Then we go sit down and talk with an attorney, but I would go down to that dealership and get
in a different car.
Right. Get that title application for that particular car and make it happen. I don't know if you have to actually get it from the dealer.
I don't know.
But that's something that you need to look at. But go down to the registration place, say, look, this is all the stuff I got. What do I need to get this car registered, and see if you can get it without the dealer. But I would go down to that dealer's lot and politely request that piece of documentation that you need to get the car registered. You're going to continue to rack up tickets.
And if I'm not mistaken, Alabama actually gives you a grace period on the registration as well, but it's a matter of days.
Okay.
It's 5 or 7 days after the purchase of the vehicle.
I keep wanting to say 30, but I'm stretching.
I think 30 is the insurance.
I think, okay.
The state, I think, gives you a certain number of days as well, though, that, if you were to be pulled over, you just need to have that sales contract in your glove box.
That stinks for Rachel, though. We get it.
Right.
You've been mistreated. Okay, we got this text question. Does the school have the right to take a student's phone and look in it and not show the parent what's in there before they suspend a student?
So
what do you think about that?
Private school or public school? Makes a bit of a difference, right?
Okay.
That
They
does
didn't
make
say.
a difference. With private school, it's going to come down to your agreement with the school, right? And that agreement with the school may outline what they can do, what they can't do, and you have to abide by those terms if you want to remain there. And if you don't like it, you can withdraw your child and go to a different school or enter public school.
Yeah, on the public school side, a little bit trickier. So you got the Fourth Amendment we hear about, unreasonable search and seizures from a government entity. Is a school, is it the government? In these day and ages, when all these school shootings, you ask parents, should we ever get on our kid's phone and look and make sure there's not a threat? Absolutely. Does that violate the kid's constitutional rights? Depends on who's looking, how they got that information. But I believe the courts are pretty lenient on keeping the kids safe. And so if it's a safety issue, maybe personal civil liberties may be a little bit interrupted during this time of trying to keep the kids safe. But if it's a government official, that has to be reasonable as to the search and seizure and limited to a legitimate purpose and have to be lawful. Somebody just takes the phone and gets that information without telling the parents. If it's a government entity, that could be a violation. But again, it's going to be up in the air, is my call, given the state of things right now.
Yeah, and I think it matters if it's the hall monitor or the school resource officer that's doing it, right? But the public schools can somewhat limit your rights. There was a recent case from Louisiana, I believe, that went up to the federal circuit with regards to what haircuts are permitted. And it had to do with an African-American student's haircut. And
this was public school?
This was public school, and it was upheld. You can't, go into school with a shirt with explicitives on it, even though you have a First Amendment right to free speech. So, there can be some restrictions with regards to school, but, certainly they tell you not to bring it in, but can they go through it is the question.
And begs the question, they can also tell you to put it up. Don't use it in the classroom. Take it up if you violate those rules. I think the teacher's going to have leeway to operate their class the way they want to. And that's what we want. We want the teacher to be in charge of the classroom as well.
We've got Howie on the line with a question from Huntsville. Howie, thanks for waiting. What's your question tonight?
Yeah, hi. I purchased a house at a sheriff's sale about 2 months ago, and the only other lien on it was a prior first mortgage, and they've just announced that mortgage is going to be foreclosing. What I want to know is if the foreclosure sale brings more than what the mortgage company is owed, does the mortgager get the excess money, or do I get the excess money since I have a sheriff's deed?
Interesting.
What kind of sale did you buy it at?
Sheriff's sale.
Okay. All right, I'm going back a little bit on the real estate law, but they have a certain right to redeem, right? How long is that? Do you know?
1 year.
1 year. All right, so you don't think they're going to redeem, and you feel like the bank's going to foreclose, and they're just going to get their particular equity out, and you may get the rest. Is that your question?
Well, do I get it, or does the mortgagor get it?
Well, I mean, I think the mortgage only has a claim up into their particular mortgage, the value, and any excess, I think, may go to you, who is second in line. But that's a good question. They've been stumping us.
Call us back in a couple of weeks and let us know if you made a good profit on that.
But I believe you. I'm betting you get it because you're second line, and the mortgage company can't profit off that. Is what I'm betting.
Okay, we got
We're playing a game show. That's my answer.
Well, yeah,
okay.
I'm going to go with you on this one.
Right.
We got a text question. Is a landowner responsible for any accidents to a person they gave permission to hunt on their property?
Recreational use, William. What do you think?
Potentially. So Alabama law categorizes you into different categories for landowners, people on your land, right? So you could have a trespasser, you could have a licensee, you could have an invitee, you could have a business invitee, and you owe a different duty to all those categories, right? So if he's giving someone permission to hunt on his land
For free,
I think that his only duty is going to be to warn him of hazards that he knows about.
Or can't set a trap, can't have tiger traps.
Can't have a booby trap.
Hey, yeah, go out there and hunt, but meanwhile I'm hunting you because I've got this trap going.
Gotcha.
So if he affirmatively creates a danger, or if William says it's not warned of a danger he should or reasonably know about, he's probably going to be fine. And the law encourages landowners to let people use it for, again, recreational use. And there's a statute that particularly protects them in that particular case. So landowners, you're going to be okay as long, if you let people use your land for recreational purposes, and the law actually encourages that, and there are protections for you.
We're going to take a break. Be right back answering more of your questions for Ask Us Anything night. Stay with us. If you haven't gotten your questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with Will League and William Meservey. They are with Timberlake, League & Brooks, personal injury attorneys, so everything from car accidents to medical malpractice. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com. And if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And our very own domestic attorney, Sharon Dovey at 539-7337, SharonFamilyLaw.com, children, just child custody, divorce, all those things. We talked a little bit about, with all the storms going on, the fraud in Florida, about the independent adjuster coming out, doing an evaluation on your home, and then submitting a different, or the company submitting a different report. Ooh. That's a problem out there. Flood insurance, a lot of people are talking about that, William.
Yeah, a lot of people who think they have flood insurance through their own homeowner's insurance coverage, that really only covers the contents of your home. So actual flood insurance is purchased through FEMA, through the federal government. So some mortgages require it if you live in a flood zone. If you don't live in a flood zone, they don't require it. It's still a good idea to get it.
Maybe something you want to look into with all this going on.
Yeah. Thanks for your questions. See you next week.
Hi, I'm Corey Mizell.